Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenithan, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Uh, kind of a video that I've done recently, actually. Don't know really what I'm trying to say here, but we have another card expansion coming up. It feels like we actually just got one, but that's just me. We've actually had a meta going on, kind of just flew by because, we were all just kind of hating on Kaisa, kind of hating on Bard. We recently just got done with a balance patch, so lots of things going on over in Legends of Runeterra right now. We've got a new mechanic called Equipment. We'll talk about that a little bit. I believe this upcoming expansion will have 4 champions, maybe 5. I think 4 is the exact number, but seems like a pretty good expansion. I believe the name of the expansion is Awakening as well. So we have quite a few cards to look at, quite lots and lots of them, all over the place. We have a Runeterra champion too. So we all know how those can be either insanely OP or kind of mediocre. And I like this one. But let's go and look at the cards because we have a lot to talk about today. So, what do we have to start with? Well, looks like I was right. It's called Awakening. But yeah, we have quite a few cards to talk about, as you can see. Before we get into anything here, let me just talk about the new card type, Equipment. Equipment are kind of like artifact weapons from Magic, if you have played that game, where you pay the mana and you equip equipment onto a unit. I believe you can spend spell mana to cast equipment, and it's basically attached 2.0. If the unit that has an equipment on it dies, the equipment will go back to your hand. The one question I have is, can we attach multiple equipment to one unit, or is it going to be like attach where you can only attach one thing at a time to a unit? And how is attach and equipment going to work? If I have, say, like a card with Papercraft Dragon on it, can I put the Darkened Scythe on it? No idea. Feel like we're going to have to test that in game because I don't think Riot has told us anything. But it seems like a nice new keyword, new card type. Seems like it'll be pretty fun to play. Equipment is not really a new mechanic, in all honesty. Like, while it's cool and all, it's not that exciting in my opinion, because I've seen equipment in a lot of different card games, in some form or another. Like, and in all those other card games I play that have equipment, or whatever you want to call it, the majority of them were not playable. Usually equipment was playable. Sometimes we called weapons and stuff was playable because they have a very strong summon ability or playability, whatever you want to call it, or the equipment itself is just really, really good for its cost. Not sure if we have any of those yet. But we'll talk about some of these cards as well. So, what do we have first? Demacia. Demacia has a card that actually kind of goes with their lore, with their whole anti-magic stuff. Silence and Suppress is a 1-mana slow spell. Destroy unit's equipment, and if it's a follower, silence it. I am not a fan of this card. I mean, I am a fan of this card, but I don't actually like this card in terms of I want to put this card in my deck. The only way I would put this card in my deck is if there's an equipment deck out there that's really, really strong in like more than 10% of the meta. Basically, basically as a tech card is the only reason I would play this. Now, if this card can be created by another card, sure. It's a powerful card, but it, in my opinion, is not worth a deck slot. And of course, you can argue, well, it can be made by Conchologist. Sure, of course. But yeah, overall, good card by itself, but not really worth a card slot in my deck. But if you can get it created, it's fine. And also it's an okay tech card if there's a solid amount of equipment around. Next up, what do we have? Mistfall. Mistfall, lots of text here. 3 mana landmark in Ionia. I love this art. I've actually never seen the full art. It's very beautiful, in fact. But yeah, 3 mana landmark. When I'm summoned, draw an equipment. Okay, so it tutors up an equipment from your deck, but I assume it's going to be random. It doesn't let you choose, because if it did let you choose, that'd be kind of really strong. First time each round an unequipped ally is equipped, refill 1 spell mana and grant them +1/+0. This is slow. Like, this is really, really slow, but it does tutor up an equipment, so I really feel like that is the key phrase, is drawing the equipment. Like, sure, the second part is nice, like getting 1 spell mana back, basically a 1 mana discount on your first equipment played is how I'm looking at it. It's basically saying, it's kind of got like that Bandle City Mayor mana effect on it, where, you know, Mayor says the first multi-region unit you play is 1 mana less. Refilling 1 spell mana is basically saying, since you can use spell mana for equipment, the first equipment you play is 1 mana less. So that's kind of nice, but... And then the grant them +1/+0 is, that's kind of whatever. Like, sure, it's nice, I guess, on Overwhelm and elusive stuff, but is it worth? Maybe. Again, I feel like this comes down to the equipment itself. Like, is there a lot of strong equipment? Is there any equipment I really, really want to find? How many of these are we going to play? Are we just going to play maybe one of them as like the 4th copy of a certain equipment we want? But I can see this being played as like the 4th equipment to really just make sure you find that one good equipment from your deck. Next up, Shadow Blade Fanatic. 3 mana, 3/2 quick attack. So it's a Draven stat line, and it's got a quick attack just like Draven. Draven's not really that popular right now because, again, 2 health for a 3-drop is kind of bad. What's the card actually do, though? Once you've equipped an ally this game, create a Shadow Fiend in hand. Shadow Fiend is the 1 mana 4/3 with Ephemeral, if I remember correctly. I mean, I'm not a fan of this card. Like, a 3/2 with quick attack's not bad. Like, Draven is playable even though he's not that good right now, but 2 health on a 3-drop is such a liability. Sure, I guess you can argue, well, Katarina sees play. Katarina sees play regardless of her 2 health, I'd say. Katarina sees play because she's easy to level up. Her level up is really powerful because, you know, rallies. And getting lots and lots of pings in the form of Blade's Edge is really good and really synergistic with Noxus decks because of things like Flock and other such things. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this guy. Also, I feel like while getting a Shadow Fiend +1, basically getting a card is nice. Getting a Shadow Fiend, like, what am I doing with a Shadow Fiend? I guess you could argue like it's an okay defensive card, but I'm not really a fan of it. Like, maybe we'll get some ephemeral synergy, but I'm not a fan of just random free Shadow Fiend. I guess you could argue it's discard fodder. Ionia doesn't really do discard stuff by itself. Now this next card, Hex Obliterator. I like it. I wish it was a little more pushed, but I like this card. 6 mana fast speed spell, deal 5 to a unit, kill it, obliterate it. Or if I kill it, obliterate it. The way it's worded, and it says if I kill it, obliterate it, means I think Hex Obliterator has to kill the unit. I'm gonna assume if you play like Hex Obliterator and then play another spell like Ravenous Flock to finish off the unit, it'll just die normally. It won't be obliterated, I assume, with the way it's worded. But I like the card. It's another obliterate effect is really good. You don't have to like play and basically create it kind of like Fallen Comet. Kind of wish it was dealing 6 damage, but 6 mana deal 6 at fast speed would be pretty strong. And you know, a lot of people would be like, why does this get to deal 6 damage for 6 mana at fast speed, while Targon has Sunburst, which is 6 mana deal 6 at slow speed, and you have to Daybreak to get its upside, which is silence the unit. So, I don't know. I'm not saying buff Sunbreak, but I do, like comparing this to Sunbreak. Sunbreak's already a playable card. I think this is a playable card in slower PNZ control decks. But I do think it might be a little too small with its health, with its damage. Five's a lot of damage, and you're killing a lot of things with 5 damage, but between things like, you know, Troll Chance, Twins, Sharp Sights, etc., it's not hard to get your unit above 5 health. I do think it will be playable, though, because fast speed, it is 6+ mana, so, you know, things like Lux and Jace like it, too. You'll definitely see it from anyone who plays Pharaoh's Financier. This is a solid Pharaoh's Financier target as well. So, you'll see this card around. Now, this card. I am going to be honest with you. I think the general opinion is this card is OP. At least I've seen a lot of people saying this card's really strong, really OP. I don't think this card's good at all. I am ready to be wrong on this. I am not impressed by this card. First off, 3 mana, what is it? Catalyst version 1.0. 3 mana, 0/0 equipment. So you're not getting any stats. You're literally just playing this for the ability it's giving you. Your spells and skills deal 1 extra damage. So it's Funsmith. You can basically turn any unit into a Funsmith. And I assume that's what this artwork is referencing. I assume this is Funsmith's weapon? Looks like it. And I think the flavor text is also referencing it too. But like, is that good? I guess you can argue, sure, Funsmith is a 4 mana, 1/3. You can technically put this on something that's a little more durable than Funsmith. You can use spell mana to play it. If the unit that has the Catalyst on it dies, you get the Catalyst back, so you can keep playing it over and over. But it is kind of expensive. You do kind of have to spend more mana afterwards, too, to get the effect to pay off. I guess you could argue, sure, you can use skills too, like Misfortune skill and stuff. Like Misfortune with this is pretty cute, but then your PNZ Bilgewater Misfortune, which seems kind of weird. Maybe it's some kind of like PNZ Jhin deck. Jhin loves skills, so I could see Jhin PNZ maybe liking this. It is 3 mana, so Tri-Beam as well. Just remember, it does say spells and skills. Skills are a very specific thing. I've seen a lot of people say like, oh yeah, this is great for Ezreal. This is great for Time Bombs. Time Bombs are not a skill. Level 2 Ezreal's ability where he does damage when you cast spells is not technically a skill. Skills are basically unit effects that go on the stack. So think things like Kai'Sa's Acathian Rain, Misfortune, Annie's ability, etc., etc. So I don't know. I can't really. I have a hard time evaluating this card. I think it just might be a little too slow, but its effect is strong. But it is kind of a decent amount of mana. But you can use spell mana. So I think that is a saving grace. You use spell mana, and it comes back to your hand if the unit dies. So you can just re-equip. Now, Noxian Defector. Nice artwork. I do like this artwork too. Interesting flavor text as well. Some more stuff about Kayn, who we'll talk about later. The card itself, though, 4 mana, 2/4 quick attack. Now, this I'm starting to like a little bit more. Sure, it's more expensive, but 4 health on a quick attack unit's kind of a lot of health. 2 attack, though, is not that much for a quick attack. You're getting blocked by a lot of things. But what's the card actually do? When the card attacks, grow my power to that of the strongest equipped ally this round. So it gets a temp buff when it attacks, so it'll go back to being a 2/4 on defense, which is fine. A 2/4 on defense is not the worst. But this is definitely a card that wants to be attacking. So I assume you played Noxian Defector. You're definitely playing Noxian Defector in an equipment-based deck. You have something else equipped, and you're using that other thing that's equipped alongside Defector to push in more damage and push more tempo through. It's not bad. It's not great. It's like, it's a role player, I guess. Like, you put it in your equipment decks to just help get more tempo and push more pressure onto your opponent, which it's not doing anything fancy or exciting, but it does its job, and it will probably do it well. We'll have to wait and see, though, whether equipment decks want this type of effect, though, and when they want to be pushing this kind of tempo. Okay, I might be getting some people mad with this one. Loaded Vessel sucks. I've heard some people say this card's great. I don't think it's good. What does it actually do, though? Loaded Vessel is a 5-mana fast spell in Bilgewater. Okay, fast speed's nice. Deal 2 to a unit. Draw 1 at the next round start for each damage dealt and give them fleeting. On paper, I like the card. Like, I just in a vacuum by itself, I like this card. I like the effect. Wow, it's dealing some damage and you're getting some card draw. Very cool. When I put this card into the game and compare it to other things in the game, I'm not as big of a fan. This is not that. This is a really slow ability to get a lot of value. 5 mana is a lot of mana for a removal spell, and you're not. It doesn't really remove that many things. Now you can argue, oh, well, you can combine it with powder. Sure, but when's the last time you've seen a powder keg, in all honesty? Like, powder kegs are not a common sight anymore. If Gangplank was still a 5/5, sure, I could say, like, oh yeah, like, maybe some Gangplank control. Like, we've seen Gangplank control. Gangplank Ezreal, Gangplank Thresh with Rekindlers. Granted, like, first off, the meta and the game itself was much slower when those type of decks were played. And plus Gangplank was a 5/5 back then. I will say this, I do think there is one deck that could play this. Maybe TF Nami can play this as a 1 or a 2 of, because they do like the card draw. And they can slow their opponents down quite a decent amount. Like, you play Loaded Vessel prior to the turn you want to set up the Nami kill, and then you use the extra 2 cards just to push more damage in. But yeah, I'd say the biggest problem I have with this card is, the question is, what deck wants this? Ezreal's kind of meh. I guess you could say, like, Twisted Fate, but that's a lot of mana. You play like a TF on turn 4, hope he lives, then the next turn you play Loaded Vessel, and then hope TF lives again. That's a lot of hope. I'm just saying, like, TF does not live ease a lot of the time, for more than one turn. If you're playing a deck that's trying to level up TF, your opponent will recognize that. Your opponent will actually treat TF like an actual threat. A lot of the time you see TF just sticking around for multiple turns because people will know you're playing a deck that doesn't actively try to level up TF. I've seen people saying this is on the same power level of Eye of Nagakabouros. It's not. This is nowhere near the same power level of Eye of Nagakabouros. They're like, oh yeah, it's Eye of Nagakabouros is a 5-mana draw 2 that gives you a 2/2. This is kind of like giving you a 2/2 because it's dealing 2 damage. It's kind of like drawing 2 because it's giving you at least 2 draw because you're dealing 2 damage. First off, Eye of Nagakabouros is burst speed. Eye of Nagakabouros has versatility because you can use it for burst speed blockers or to push more damage with a burst speed attacker. You get the draw right away. Plus Tentacle Synergy if you care about Tentacle Synergy. Loaded Synergy isn't doing a lot of that. Plus, here's the other thing that you might not have thought of when you first saw this card. It draws cards based on how much damage it does. What if you cast Loaded Vessel and then your opponent casts Glimpse Beyond? Your Loaded Vessel dealt no damage. Since it dealt no damage, you're going to draw 0. At least that's how it should work, based on how the card is worded. Who knows? Knowing Riot wording, it might actually still just draw you 2. So, you know, your opponent could just stop this by just killing their own unit. I mean, you will sometimes see people Vile Feast or Mystic Shot their own unit to stop effects, like to stop lifesteal, in fact. So yeah, overall, not a big fan of this card, but TF Nami, especially after the nerf to Tentacle Smash, might play this, but outside of TF Nami, I'm not a fan of this in any other deck. If TF decks and Ezreal decks, like Ezreal Bilgewater, get some more support, maybe. And Gangplank is not a 5/4 anymore, maybe Gangplank Control, but I'm not a fan of this card. And now we have Kayn himself, the champion, the poster boy, I guess, for equipment. Kayn is a Runeterra champion. Let's talk about his origin first, because it's a pretty strong origin. Poor Evelyn, by the way. with her origin that basically does nothing. So Kayn basically just says you may put any cultist cards into your deck during deck building. Gonna be honest with you, kind of a boring origin there in terms of what you can put in your deck, but whatever. It's kind of just like Bard, where Bard's like, yeah, put anything that creates chimes. Evelyn's like anything that creates husk. I hope they don't keep doing this thing with the Runeterra champions where it's basically saying like, put my followers in your deck. The passive ability though is pretty cute, pretty nice. Once you have summoned 3+ cultist units, draw a Kayn. They specifically say unit because there are spells that are labeled cultist. I don't know, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good... It's not as, like, explosive and powerful as Bard's origin. But it's a solid origin. Like, again, it's not impressive. It's like, oh, wow, we're drawing a card for an origin. Yes, but it's drawing a champion. And a champion, I'd assume your deck is built around because, you know, your Kayn deck. So yeah, you want to summon the cultist cards anyway, so you're getting rewarded for what you want to do. You want to summon units in the early game. So very strong ability there. Not flashy, but very strong. So what's Kayn himself actually do? 5 mana, 2/5. So 5 mana with a origin that lets you draw him after you play 3 cultists. You're probably going to have this guy on turn 5. Challenger. Okay, we already know the origin. Auto-equip the Darkened Scythe. When I kill an enemy, heal me for 2. What is the Darkened Scythe really quick? The Darkened Scythe is a 2 mana 0/0 equipment. Attack, grant it +1/+0. So you're not getting health from the Darkened Scythe. So sadly, so on the first attack, first challenge, your Kayn will be a 3/5 usually. A 5 mana 3/5 challenge, a turn 5 3/5 challenger is killing stuff. Sure, it's not killing big stuff like turn 4, like 4 drops and 5 drops like the warrior would, but there's usually small things from like turn 1 through 3 to pick off there, like 3 3s, 2 3s, 3 2s, 2 1s, etc., etc. Basically, Kayn is going to level 1. Kayn is going to be here to pick off the smaller early game stuff, and he actually gets a heal too. That's pretty nice. And healing a champ is basically really powerful. If you guys are newer to the game, well, not even newer, just new, not even new, but like you didn't play during beta or you just don't know or just don't even remember, Thresh used to actually heal himself. I can't remember the exact line of text, but I believe Thresh said whenever he killed something, he healed himself by 1. That got removed, and I think they increased his health. I think he might have been a 3/5, maybe even a 3/4 back then, but they increased his health to make up for it. So I don't know, like Kayn has a lot of health too. Like I'm looking at this guy, I'm looking at Kayn and I'm comparing him to Thresh and I'm like, wow, Kayn is like Thresh, but so much better. Now, next thing is, what's leveled up Kayn actually do? Well, we got to talk about 2 Kayns. We got to talk about, well, leveled up Kayn, and then blue Kayn and red Kayn. If you know League, you know what I'm already kind of talking about. So first off, to level up Kayn, Kayn has to strike twice. When he levels up, he gets recalled, and he turns into basically level 2 Kayn. Level 2 Kayn is a 0 mana 3/6. Interesting. When you play level 2 Kayn, transform all copies of me into Rost or the Shadow Assassin, red Kayn or blue Kayn. I'm gonna say it now. Pick red Kayn. Don't pick blue Kayn unless you're memeing. There are some scenarios we'll pick blue Kayn, but red Kayn is the way to go. We'll talk about blue Kayn first. Blue Kayn, the Shadow Assassin. 5 mana 3/6, elusive with Challenger. He's Usari. Auto-equipped Shadow Scythe. What is Shadow Scythe? Shadow Scythe is a 2 mana 0/0 equipment that says attack, grant the Shadow Scythe +2/+0. Okay. So the reason I feel like you're going to pick blue Kayn over red Kayn is you want an elusive. I think that is literally the only reason you want blue Kayn is because he is elusive and you want to push in damage with your elusive Kayn. Because red Kayn has so much more going on than blue Kayn. So let's talk about blue Kayn. Let's talk about Rost. Rost is a 5 mana 3/6 with Overwhelm and Challenger. So sure, no elusive, so he's not pushing in that much damage, but Overwhelm still helps him push in damage. Also, that is some beautiful art. Auto-equipped Corrupted Scythe. What is the Corrupted Scythe, you might say? The Corrupted Scythe is an equipment for 2 mana, 0/0. Whenever it attacks, grant Corrupted Scythe +1/+1. So unlike Blue Scythe, whatever Blue Scythe is called, you're getting health for Corrupted Scythe. Okay, that's pretty good. He's already got a solid stat line, 3/6, and you're getting more health thanks to the Corrupted Scythe. When I kill an enemy, fully heal me and heal your Nexus for 2. Meanwhile, Blue Kayn, the Shadow Assassin, is elusive, and that's it. That extra line of text, that heal Rost and heal your Nexus, is why I think you should always pick Rost. Really, it just comes down to, do you just need elusives right away to really push in damage? Because Rost pushes in damage solidly as well. Rost heals you too, so it helps stabilize you. And Rost heals himself as well, so it's going to be really hard to kill him. And plus, Corrupted Scythe gives health too. So I think I'd say like 9 out of 10 times you're picking Rost over Shadow Assassin. Just like, it's kind of sad to see like auto-equip Shadow Scythe, nothing else, while Rost is auto-equip Corrupted Scythe, and then an extra, not just extra, but extra powerful line of text on top of that. So, yeah, basically, I do like Kayn. I think he's pretty solid. Gonna be honest with you, I don't know how I would build Kayn so far. Maybe some kind of like, I do think like maybe a Karma deck, like a control deck, and you'll use red Kayn as an extra control tool, but that means like a lot of Runeterra champions, that basically means you're mono Ionia. But I do think red Kayn can be more control-y thanks to the heal of the Nexus. Challenger helps control a lot too. He's going to be really hard to remove thanks to healing himself. And if you're combining with Ionia, you can easily level up Kayn, level 1 Kayn, because you got things like twin, counter spells, etc., etc. So big fan of Kayn and his design. I don't think he's meant to be control. He definitely seems to be more of like a mid-range kind of tempo-y card, but I'm going to try to use him in control because Challenger means control, I hope. Please, help. And our final card for Kayn, his champion spell, Shadow Step. 4 mana slow spell, give Kayn quick attack this round. He starts a free attack challenging an enemy. Okay, so it's basically Cataclysm, kind of. It also helps level him up thanks to, him striking. Quick attack makes it so he probably will survive and not take damage easily. So pretty solid spell here. Like, you can't main deck it seems, because it is a champ spell for a Runeterra champion, and they almost never seem to be, very rarely seem to be main deckable. You got like Evelyn's counter spell, Jin's Grenade. I guess I think you can play Bard's Chime spell in your deck. But yeah, pretty solid card for a champion spell. And now we got a bunch more cards, some Kayn support to talk about. So first off, we just got some basic equipment, not much to talk about here. Jagged Cutlass is a 3 mana 2/2/1 equipment. Plunder, I cost 1 less. Very cool. Whatever, like, I guess maybe Bilgewater elusives or something. But I don't really like this in a lot of my Bilgewater decks. Just doesn't seem to do enough for a whole card slot, so I'm not a big fan. Great Hammers, though, on the other hand, is kind of scary. Great Hammers is just a 2 mana +2/+0 equipment. Gives Overwhelm to whoever's equipped. Very scary. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of scared of this card. Like, there's a lot of cards that are just yeah, it's big, but it doesn't have Overwhelm, or it doesn't have Elusive, it doesn't have Fearsome, so it's whatever. So if you're playing Noxus, you can just give anything Overwhelm. Noxus Viego, giving Viego Overwhelm. Legion Deserter, we can give Legion Deserters Overwhelm again. So yeah, I think this card will see some play. Maybe some Noxus Shurima Overwhelm. Noxus Freljord Overwhelm. Maybe in the future with more Yeti support, we can play this with Yetis too. I do think this is a very playable card, especially because you can cast it only with spell mana. Remember this, with all these equipment, you can always cast them with just spell mana. So you can curve out and play a 5-drop on turn 5 and buff it up with Great Hammers. Anyway, Buried Armory. Shurima card, 1 mana landmark. Countdown 2, create a Treasure of the Sands. I love this artwork, by the way. This is some beautiful artwork. It reminds me of the scene in Dark Souls 3 with the skeleton balls, because it looks like that's a ball of humans. But what is Treasure of the Sands? Treasure of the Sands is a 3 mana +4/+4 equipment. That's a lot of stats for only 3 mana. But that's it. Is it worth? Is 3 mana for +4/+4 worth? I mean, we played Badger Bear back when it was a 4/4 for 3 mana just because it was a 3 mana 4/4. And you're gonna get this card back. You can cast it with spell mana. Renekton, maybe? Like, you play this card on turn 1. You bank 3 mana and then you play turn 4 Renekton. And then Treasure of the Sands on Renekton. You've got a 4 mana 8/8 Renekton. That seems pretty strong, I'm not gonna lie. And then your opponent plays Vengeance, and then you cry. But I don't know, I think this card might see some play. Like, that is a lot of stats, and like, while you can't just look at only stats, a lot of stats for a relatively cheapish cost is pretty solid, and you can keep playing this over and over even if they kill your unit. So, I kind of like this card. But I kind of just wish it had a keyword. If it had a keyword and maybe a little less stats, maybe I'd like it a little more. Like, I don't know, +3/+3 and Fearsome. Probably be a lot better, but it's still fine. Next up, what do we have? Draconic Bonds. Actually, speaking about like cheaper or less stats, but with a keyword, this is kind of it. It is more expensive though, 4 mana for +3/+3. But you're getting Fury here. Also, my bearer is a dragon, so you can make anything a dragon now. Here's the problem. So what? Like, what's the dragon synergy? A lot of dragons. I guess you can argue Dragon's Clutch. The 3 mana, give all your dragons +1/+1 and Overwhelm. A lot of dragon synergy, I feel, cares about when you play the dragon, like Herald of Dragons, Dragon Chow, or, card being a dragon already before it's on the field. So, Dragon's Clutch drawing dragons. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I'll be honest with you, it just doesn't seem like there's that much synergy post summoning, like post card being summoned for being a dragon. Like, there is some, but I don't think there's that much. I guess, like, technically there is some synergy for Fury, but that's not really caring about being a dragon. I don't know. I like this card. It is a little expensive though. I kind of just wish it was a little cheaper, but +3/+3 for 4 mana is pretty solid. I will say this though, with equipment in general, you are kind of stacking up a lot of stats on one unit while you're getting the equipment back if the unit dies. You're still losing out on tempo, and a lot of decks can capitalize on that, so be careful of that, I'd say. But I like this card. It seems like a fun kind of meme. I don't think this will be too great and constructed unless we get more dragon synergy, which maybe more dragon synergy. I don't know what kind of champion we could get. I don't know, maybe Rise? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like something that could be Targon related and care about dragons. We already have Aurelion Soul. We have Shyvana existing already. Is there another dragon champion? I can't remember. All right. This card. First off, the first cultist spell. So you can play this in your Kayn decks, and this card is really good. Once you have equipped an ally this game, I cost 1 less. Good lord. Revive the strongest dead allied champion. Yeah, this is scary. I don't really know how to put this, but my god, this is scary. Shurima card too. Shurima really likes, I mean, Shurima's already a good region. Even after the nerf, Shurima's still good. Even honestly, even if you don't activate this and you're just playing 5 mana for it, it's not even bad. Like, it's actually a solid spell at 5 mana just to revive the strongest dead ally champion. You're basically getting a slow speed rekindler effect. So you lose the 4/4 from rekindler, but it's 2 mana less. I guess you could argue, well, it can also be counterspelled. Sure, whatever. You can counter it, I guess. And then it gets really nutty once you actually activate it, and it's 3 mana. I honestly can see this card getting nerfed to 6 mana. Basically pulling a Hidden Pathways. You know, Hidden Pathways used to cost 5 as well. So yeah, I can definitely see cards and decks that are not playing equipment at all in their deck playing this just because it's a rekindler effect. Maybe like a Katarina deck. You play this, you summon Katarina, and then you get rallies, 3 mana rally, like Shurima Noxus equipment deck. Ooh, I don't think that'll be good, but that seems kind of cute. But yeah, I think this card's really, really powerful. I'm really scared of it. Speaking about powerful in Shurima, Forsaken Bakai. First off, it's a cultist, so you can put it in your Kayn decks. 1 mana, 2/1. Play, predict. If you pick a Darken or an equipment, grant me +1/+1. So it's basically a 1 mana 3/2 if you choose one of those cards. And here's the thing. Even if it doesn't get +1/+1, it's still a 1 mana 2/1, which is a solid stat line. Basically, let me give you this question. Evaluate it this way. Is a 1 mana 2/1 predict a good card? Would you play a 1 mana 2/1 predict in a deck? Probably not, but some decks would. I think like Echo Zillion would probably play in a 1 mana 2/1 predict. So I don't know. I like this card a lot, even more so in decks that, you know, are playing equipment and Darken, so Kayn decks. I think you definitely play 3 of this guy in your Kayn deck. Like 1 mana 3/2 is so good. For example, sure, Chip's a 1 mana 3/3, but you play Chip because he's a 1 mana 3/3. Sure, this guy's not as big and as stat heavy as Chip, but the trade-off is you get 1 less health for a predict. I guess if you don't hit the +1/+1, you're not. But still, a 1 mana 2/1 predict is a solid card. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this guy. Also, really nice artwork too. Anyway. Next card. Another cultist. We've got Ranger Knight Defector. 4 mana 4/3. Demacia card. Also a cultist. Has tough. Once you have equipped an ally this gain, grant me scout. So a 4 mana 4/3 tough with scout. I'm not a fan of that by itself, but tough is annoying, and scout, like tough scout is a really relatively strong keyword combination, and I'd say she holds equipment fairly well thanks to tough. Like, you put equipment on her, she gets that much stronger. She has scout, so she can really put pressure on. Tough makes her so she's a little hard to block. And then thanks to the equipment, she might be even that much harder to deal with and putting that much pressure on. So I'm a kind of big fan of this card. I don't know. Seems like a solid 4-drop for Kayn decks and equipment decks. So I like it. Really nice artwork too, as well. A lot of these cultists have some really nice artwork though, as well. Now this card. I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this card, I kind of overrated this card. I still really like this card. Tempting Prospect. 1 mana burst speed spell. Pick a follower or equipment from the top 4 of your deck. Draw it. Place the rest into your deck. First question I have. Those cards that you didn't choose, are they being shuffled in? Or are they going back on top of your deck in the same order like Station Archivist used to do? Because if that's happening, then you can, you know, definitely do some shenanigans and plan your future turns out. When I first saw this card, I thought it said like pick a unit or equipment, and I read it wrong. And I thought this card was great because I was like, wow, picking a unit or equipment, you can get the champion, you can find your champion that much faster. And then I read it and it was like, oh, it's only followers, so it's not hitting champions. Okay, it's not as great, but it's still a solid card. If you're in Demacia and you just need like that 38th, 39th, and 40th card, this is a solid card. Most decks are just like very unit heavy, so I assume by looking at the top 4, you're always going to hit at least one card. Cards like this have always seen play in other card games, like think like Tracking from Hearthstone, Anticipate from Magic the Gathering. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this card. And of course, if you're playing equipment too, like I think it gets even better. If you're playing equipment, this card is pretty sweet. Because you can then find equipment. So it also just costs 1 mana. 1 mana is so cheap. Like, I don't know. I really like this card. I do think it's definitely going to be like the last couple of cards you're putting in your deck, like card 39, card 40. But I still think that is very fine. Okay, now this card. This is, I don't know how to evaluate this card. Momentous Choice. 1 mana burst speed spell. Give an ally +1/+0, or +0/+1 this round. If you've equipped an ally this game, play a copy of me on the same target. So, if you've equipped something, basically this is reading, give an ally +2/+0 or +0/+2 this round. It's basically smaller Twin Discipline at that point. Here's my question to you. Why not just play Twin Discipline? I guess you can argue ever since Twin Discipline got nerfed, since Twin only gives +2/+0 now, Twin is... You're really just paying for Twin, the extra mana for Twin for that 1 extra health. I will say this though, it is the Cultist card, so if you're not in Ionia, like you're a Kayn deck and your secondary region's PNZ or something, you'll play this because, you know, you Twin Disciplines is a solid protection spell. Basically, I'm looking at this card as a more flexible Elixir of Iron. Elixir of Iron's not really that heavily played outside of like a one-of in Ash decks, but it's a fine card. I think it's okay. It's definitely just a card you're gonna, I feel, play in Kayn decks, and that's it. I feel like if you're in Ionia and you ever think about playing this card, you're just probably better off playing Twin Disciplines. And our next card, a Darken card. So I believe this means we have 2 Darken so far. We've got Darken Ballista and Kayn. So that's pretty nice. What was it that had the synergy with Darken again? Something that synergy. Yeah, like Forsaken Bakai now seems to have 2 targets that are 2 Darken targets now, and probably more when we see like Aatrox. I assume Aatrox is going to be a Darken. So Darken Ballista is a kind of cool card here. It's a transform card. So 1 mana equipment +2/+0. When I'm equipped, deal 1 to your Nexus. That's kind of a yikes. But you may spend 8 mana to play me as Naganeka of Zareta. So you, in the early game, you get to use the Darken Ballista just as a weapon, and you play it to buff up your units. And I assume they don't want you to do that too much, and that's why there's the downside of dealing 1 to your Nexus. But then you can turn it into Naganeka of Zareta for 8 mana, which is 8 mana 5/13. Overwhelm. Round end, the strongest enemy and I strike each other. I like this card. 5 damage kills a lot of things. By turn 8, though, the strongest enemy might be able to survive Naganeka. But that's where equipment comes in, I'd assume, where you're like, oh, my Naganeka won't survive or won't kill their strongest unit. Let me put like great hammers or whatever on it or something, or corrupted scythe or something. So then it actually kills it. So I like it. It's another Darkin, a Darkin that's not a League of Legends champion too, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's a pretty solid card. I'd kind of like, I don't know if I'll play all three of them. I don't think that's worth, because I feel like you definitely want to play Darkin Ballista because you eventually want to play Naga NECA. But I think like 1 to 2, depending on like how good how good the equipment synergy is and how good like equipment searching is, like, you know, like tempting prospect style cards. And of course it is a skill. Wait, what is this even for? This is not a skill. What am I thinking about? This is a spell. That's the word I'm thinking about. 4-mana cultist fast spell. Equipped ally strikes an enemy. Okay, pretty cool. I assume this actually means, because it says an equipped ally strikes an enemy. What if I play silence and suppress in response before you say it's slow speed? Okay, but play Senna. Wait, no, Senna only works on slow kill spells. Never mind. What am I talking about? But basically, I'm wondering what happens if the equipment falls off before Furious Wielder resolves. Does it not get casted anymore? I assume it wouldn't, because it's no longer equipped. I'm not sure on how it would work with how it's worded, but I like the card. It's fine. It's basically a concerted strike, but not as good. I guess I can look at this like, I would play Bloody Business even before the nerf, so I'll probably play this card, especially if I'm playing Kayn and I'm in my secondary regions removal is not that great. I will definitely play 3 Furious Wielders if I just need more removal. And between Furious Wielder and Kayn himself, I think Kayn decks can definitely be playing a secondary region that's removal is a little bit weaker, like Targon or Ionia. So that's going to be it, though. Lots and lots of cards. Very long video, but we had a lot of cards to talk about. So yeah, very exciting cards. Very excited to build some Kayn. I don't really know how I would build him at the moment. I would try, obviously, to build him like a control card or control deck because I like control, but he definitely seems more mid-rangey, tempo-y. Not sure who I would pair him with now if he was in the game now. Maybe like a Felios Targon or something. That seems kind of cute. But yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion on Kayn and equipment and the new cards in general, and how you would build Kayn if he was in game today. Anyway, though, I should probably stop rambling. This video is going on really long because we had a lot of cards, so I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you guys enjoyed the video in general, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. Always helps me and the channel out. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Sedaton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye.